All right. Welcome back to the Konnectivity Podcast. I'm joined today with Mitch Jacobsen, the founder of Rviita Energy Tea. Mitch is an entrepreneur, athlete, bodybuilder. The man really does it all. How you doing today, Mitch?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I don't know about that, but it's truly an honor to be on your podcast, man. I appreciate everything you do for local business.
Cool. Thanks, man. I appreciate you taking out the time. So funny story. I was actually in Sobeys the other day, just doing some shopping, and I looked to my right and I seen a familiar packaging, and it turns out it was Rviita Tea. And that's what actually gave me the idea to reach out to you. I was like, oh, hey, I haven't reached out to Mitch. I should totally get him on my podcast. But question for you, I'm just wondering what that feeling is like. Like that must be such a cool feeling if you're walking through a store and you see your product there.
That is such a great question. And you know what? Initially, it is. It is the coolest feeling in the world to have this idea. When I started in this, I had no idea what I was doing, and to see it on a Sobeys or a Safeway shelf now is incredible. But that feeling goes away pretty quick, and you realize that you got to be in a lot of stores to eventually be a profitable business, and there's always more people to help. So as exciting as the feeling is, it fades quick, and it's always just time to get back to work.
Nice, man. That's so cool. So how many stores are you guys in right now?
We're just about to cross 100 stores. So as of this week, we're going to cross 100 doors, mostly in Alberta here, a little bit in BC and Manitoba, and then we'll be launching into Ontario next month. So
Nice.
it's really coming together. We're very blessed.
That's awesome, man. Are you guys mostly in like natural food stores, or it doesn't really matter? Because I saw you in Sobeys, right? So are you also in a lot of bigger grocery stores as well?
Really great question. So we really started building the brand in the natural food space. So Rviita Energy Tea, it's a healthy afternoon pick-me-up, kind of a clean energy drink, black tea, organic honey, and some fruit juices with really clean caffeine. And so to build the awareness for the brand, we started in, amazing local companies like Blush Lane, Amaranth, Bite Market, and Englewood. We got the word out there, and then as the brand started to build, we approached Safeway, Sobeys, Save On Foods, Calgary Co-op, and we've launched into those stores now, and it's been going really well. They have incredible local programs, and we're so fortunate to have the space on their shelves.
That's so amazing, man. Did you ever, like, when you first started, did you ever imagine being in these big chain grocery stores like Co-op, Sobeys, Safeway, or were you always thinking, we might just be in natural food stores?
That's really interesting. When I started the business, I actually pictured us in supplement stores, if you can believe it. So
Okay.
3 years ago, when I wrote out the business plan, we were thinking more, the Popeyes supplement king kind of route, because we're a healthy sort of pre-workout. And as we got going with the business, we just found that this is a much better fit for grocery. It's not just for an athlete in a store, it's for the everyday person at the office. So one of the interesting things about being an entrepreneur and getting into a space that I didn't know much about is we learned a lot as we went, and every day we're growing and we're learning. And that was one of the big things that we found is we're still going to pursue the supplement channel, but the grocery channel and the big chain grocery is really where we can impact and influence and help the most people, and that's where we're headed.
Nice, man. So I've tried your product, not as a pre-workout, but I will after you recommended it. But I loved it. It was one of the days I was at the office. It's a really long day. I was feeling tired. I'm not a coffee drinker. I don't drink energy drinks. So I was like, why don't I give this a shot? And, it tasted great. I felt rejuvenated afterwards. And one of the things I loved the most about your drinks is the packaging. It reminds me of kind of like a Capri Sun. It brings back all my childhood memories. But what was the inspiration behind that packaging for you guys?
Well, thank you for that. That means the world to us. And yeah, our packaging is really unique. So it's first of kind. And I'm glad you said that, the Capri Sun. So, for those watching on YouTube, this is our packaging. It's a flexible beverage pouch, but it drinks just like a water bottle. And where the inspiration for that came from is, environmental sustainability and doing the right thing for the environment was something that was really important to us. And so when we were evaluating putting Rviita in a can or in a glass bottle, one of the problems that we found was the carbon emissions during transportation. So, most cans in North America, they're made in the southern states. So those got to be trucked up here. As you can imagine, they take up a lot of space in the truck, a lot of carbon emissions. Glass can be made overseas most of the time. So that takes up a ton of space on boats and planes. We wanted something that could be shipped flat, didn't take up a lot of space, and really reduce that overall carbon emission. And then we want to do something new and unique and bring back, those childhood memories of like a Capri Sun, but make it, an adult, classy, professional package. And that's what we really did, with our flexible beverage pouch. Wanted to do something innovative and wanted to do something that was great for the environment. And it took, I designed the package literally with freezer paper and a curling iron, molding it together in my kitchen over the course of about a year to come up with what we have now. And very fortunately, it turned out, and we feel very grateful that it looks so as great as it does.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, man. And it definitely stands out and gets your attention. So that's perfect. But for those who don't know, why don't we take it back a little bit and let's talk about the origination of Rviita, like how the idea came about, because you're a petroleum engineer by trade, and this has very little to do with petroleum engineering. So I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, thank you. And you know what? It's probably a very similar story to how you started your company. It started an app. I find that absolutely incredible how you did that. And so the origins of this company actually date back almost exactly 3 years. So it was July of 2017. I was a petroleum engineer. I was working for an amazing company downtown. And I just had this epiphany moment. I was driving around in the field one day and I used to drink, the only times I would drink energy drinks was out there to keep me going, because you might be in the truck for 12 or 14 hours driving around, you got to stay awake. And I remember pulling over on the side of the road exhausted, and I just had this epiphany that I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I'd been putting that dream off for too long, and it was time to do something different. And, it wasn't too long before that, I actually had a friend who had a heart attack from drinking too many energy drinks. I ended up driving him to the hospital. He's okay now, but that sort of that epiphany mixed with what I saw happen to my friend was what spawned the idea. Is why isn't there a healthy alternative to energy drinks? What's bridging the gap between, like you said, coffee on the one side, energy drinks on the other side? Why isn't there something that tastes great and gives you all of that energy without the crash? And so that was the origin of the idea. But being a petroleum engineer, wanting to be an entrepreneur, but having no idea about the beverage space, I literally just got to work in my kitchen. So my business partner, Rob, and I, we bought a bunch of stuff from Safeway. We started mixing it together in our kitchen. Like I said, we designed our packaging with freezer paper and a curling iron. We thought we were going to launch in like 6 months, and ended up taking over 2 years. So the inception of the idea was July of 2017, but we didn't launch until October of 2019. So it was a long, hard journey, and the advice I can pass on to any, aspiring entrepreneurs is it's going to take longer and more money than you think it's going to take, but it's an incredible ride, and it sure is worth it.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Yeah, as entrepreneurs, we always have these expectations of how long things are going to take or how smooth the process is going to be. But from my personal experience and others that I've talked to, it almost never works out that way, But I find that if you stick with it, if you're resilient, if you're passionate enough about it, if you take the little steps every day, you'll get there eventually. And it just adds to the story to tell at the end of the day.
It sure does. You hit the nail on the head. You got to lay one brick a day, and how we literally started the business was I just made a rule. I was going to do one thing a day to get this going. And, on day one, it was literally Google, how do you start a beverage company? Day two was another Google search. Day three, I ordered a book from Amazon on how to start a beverage company. So it really started with no knowledge of the industry and nothing. And like you said, just do a few things every day. And it sure makes for one heck of a story when you get there.
Definitely. That's amazing, man. So you mentioned that you always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I'm just wondering how you ended up in petroleum engineering. Like I would think that you would take business in university, but was petroleum engineering also something you were passionate about?
Yeah, that's extremely insightful of you. So, I'm a fourth generation oil and gas. I believe it's a beautiful industry. Like Canada produces the lowest, carbon emission, lowest pollution hydrocarbons on the planet. And so this is something I was always very passionate about because I grew up around it. I wanted to be a part of that industry. And my plan initially was to start, an oil and gas company. And so that's why I took petroleum engineering. But I figured out, kind of getting into the business as a, 21, 22-year-old out of school, it just takes a lot of time and a lot of capital to eventually start an oil company. You're not seeing guys in their 20s doing it now, especially in the state of the industry. So unless I wanted to put in, 10, 15 years and try and raise money, it was just going to take longer than I wanted to wait. So I thought, you know what, it's time to apply the skill set that I learned in this great industry, apply it to the beverage space. And, it's, even though they're not related industries, a lot of the skills I learned being a petroleum engineer has certainly carried over and has really helped me.
Nice. So was it a smooth transition for you? Like transitioning from that type of environment to the one that you are in now?
It's the operational stuff. So, managing the operations side of the oil and gas is very similar to, running a production line for beverages. There's timelines you got to meet, you got to think ahead, you got to plan ahead. But there's, the people that you deal with and the, like sales and marketing, you don't learn that as an engineer. So I've really had to learn that as I go. And I learned from guys like you, experts like yourself, asking you questions, learning from you. So that's been the hardest transition, is really learning that marketing and sales side, because that's something that was quite foreign to me, coming from more of a technical operational background.
Nice. So how has everything been? So you said you came up with the idea 3 years ago. How have you found the whole journey, the process, and are there any key things that you've learned throughout your journey?
I think one of the key things, like you said already, is it's going to take longer. It's going to be harder than you imagined. And you have to learn the skill of resilience. So as an entrepreneur, that's definitely the number one skill that I've learned, is just pushing through the obstacles. And when I first started, when we first hit some roadblocks, like, the formulas we were making in our kitchen just wasn't working. What's the next step? I took that really hard. When something failed or something didn't go wrong at the beginning, it affected me for days. And now I'm learning that, every day something's going to happen that isn't going to work out the way that you want it to. And you just learn to just push through that. So that's the advice I can give to aspiring entrepreneurs, is nothing's ever going to go as planned. You got to just push through and forge through, and don't ever use the "I don't know" as an excuse. I didn't start my business for a really long time because I always hid behind, well, I don't know how to start a beverage company, or I don't know how to start a tech company, when I was looking at tech ideas. And then one day I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to use it as an excuse anymore. I'm going to push through. And the same goes today. I didn't know how to launch into Ontario or get out of the city and launch into other cities. We could have hid behind that excuse for a long time, but we decided to just push through, do one thing a day that's going to move you towards that goal. And it's incredible how far that will take you over time.
Nice, man. Well, speaking of roadblocks and challenges, one that we've all had to face and a lot of businesses have had to face recently is the coronavirus situation. So just wondering how your business was affected by it, and what are some of the things that you guys did to adapt to the situation?
We, just like yourself, we looked for opportunities to give back. So the coronavirus it really impacted us significantly. So before COVID hit in February, we were in about 60 stores. Over half of those shut their doors with coronavirus. So it was a big hit to our bottom line. We weren't able to get, access to, the stores and the markets and the people that we were helping before this hit. And the other big, impact that we saw was our greatest marketing tool was going out in grocery stores and giving out samples. Well, we can't do that anymore. And we don't know when we'll ever be able to do that anymore. And what we thought was putting us at a huge disadvantage when COVID hit has actually turned out to be a huge blessing in disguise, because we can't rely on doing sampling in grocery stores. We have to find other ways to market our product and get the word out there and find other ways to help people. So one of the first things we did is we're going to give free Rviita at every nurse in the city that we can get a hold of. So we did deliveries to hundreds of nurses to their homes, giving them free product over the city. And that actually ended up being a better marketing initiative than doing sampling in stores. So we just adapted and we learned. And we've actually now doubled our business. So we were in, 30 stores when COVID hit, and we're about to be at 100. So actually over tripled and just about doubled from before when COVID hit. I really give that to the fact that we just took the approach of how can we help, how can we give back, just like yourself, and everything's going to work out when you have that mentality.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Helping out our frontline workers like that. You never lose helping others. So that's great, and I'm glad that karma has repaid you in that way. But let's talk about your tea a little bit. So I've tried it. I know it tastes great. I know what some of the benefits are. But for those who don't know, maybe this is their first time ever hearing about Rviita. Why should they choose your energy tea over, let's say, a 3-hour energy drink or a Red Bull or maybe a cup of coffee?
Really great question. And while coffee and energy drinks, those can be great products, they can do a lot for you. I used to drink them. What I found was there was a few problems I had. One, with energy drinks, I didn't know what half of the ingredients were. I couldn't even pronounce them. They're full of sugar, and I would always crash or get the jitters, right? They're probably not the best thing for you. And coffee on the other side of the spectrum, it's probably better for you. It's more natural, but I would still crash. It'd still get the jitters. A lot of times it's still filled with sugar. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to use clean, simple ingredients that everyone can understand. You can read every ingredient on our package and you're going to know what it is. So it's clean, simple things you can feel good about putting in your body. And we use natural caffeine from tea. And the beauty of tea is it contains this amino acid called L-theanine. And what L-theanine has been shown to do is it interacts with caffeine, and it can actually prolong the effects of caffeine. And it also helps you sleep better when you drink caffeine. So there's studies showing if you drink just straight caffeine and then caffeine with L-theanine, the L-theanine caffeine doesn't inhibit your sleep as bad. So you're going to get a longer, prolonged source of energy from drinking Rviita without that crash. There's only 30 calories per package from 6 grams of organic honey, and there's no artificial sweeteners, there's no artificial preservatives. So it's just clean, simple ingredients with that sustainable energy. And the most important thing is it does taste great. So we really prioritize taste. That's why it took us so much longer to get to market than we thought, is because we went through iteration after iteration, perfecting the amounts of every ingredient to make sure that it tastes great, because we know that's important to people, and people don't want to compromise energy with taste.
Yeah, definitely. I agree 1,000% on the taste. It's a very tasty drink. And you guys just introduced a new flavor recently, if I'm correct?
You bet. I got to send you some. So we're going to talk after the podcast here. I'm going to send you a case of the new flavor. Nice. And then we have 2 new flavors that we're actually going to be launching in August here. So our original flavor was called Divine Berry. So it's a strawberry black tea blend. Our next flavor was called Midnight. And we actually created that name Midnight because it was inspired by entrepreneurialism and people working night shifts and, grinding it out till midnight. Mm-hmm. And that's a blackberry black tea version. It's a really smooth taste, has really smooth, kind of sweeter taste as compared to the original. And then we have 2 new surprise flavors that'll be coming out end of the month, early August here.
Nice, man. Hey, I'm excited to try it for sure.
You betcha. We're gonna be sending some your way.
All right, I'm gonna hold you to that. So what do you see moving forward for Rviita? I know you guys are in stores in Alberta, a little bit outside of Alberta. Are you guys looking to expand across Canada, across North America, internationally? Where do you see the future of Rviita going?
Really great question. So, just like your business, it's all about scale. It's all about getting access to more people so you can help more people. And we feel like we've done a really good job in Calgary, and we're going to continue to get in as many stores and as many gyms as we can in Calgary to help as many people as we can. But the next step for us is to expand. So we've just started launching into Sobeys and some Safeways in Edmonton, Lethbridge. We're going to expand across the province. We're just opening up the BC market. So we're in a few stores in Burnaby and Vernon, soon to be Vancouver. And then Ontario will hopefully be next month. So just getting our product across Canada and spreading the message. And, a big thing about, Rviita, it's short for Revitalize, which means to give new life and vitality to. And our brand is all about, trying to inspire people and help people and give them the best product possible. And we want to get that into as many hands as we can.
Nice, man. I'm really excited for what the future holds for you guys.
Thank you.
So where can people find you? Where can people keep up with Rviita news? and just stay in touch.
Absolutely. So you can go to our Instagram is Revitalize. So Rviitalize. So we're spelled a little bit unique. Rviita is how Rviita is spelled. And the reason we did that is the two I's actually are supposed to symbolize like two people, standing beside each other. So symbolize that sense of community and
Nice.
leadership and unity. So Instagram is definitely where we're most active. We're also on Facebook at Rviita, or you can reach me, on the website. My email and my personal number's on there. So reach out to me anytime. Always open to questions or having conversations, and love to get samples to people who want to try.
And is your website rviita.com or .ca?
It's .com, you betcha.
.com.
So rviita.com, and I believe the .ca does work as well.
Okay, perfect. Just want to make sure the listeners know exactly where to find it. No typos, no nothing.
Well, I sure appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. So why don't we, as we're wrapping up, why don't we chat about life outside of business? Maybe people want to get to know Mitch Jacobsen a little bit outside of the Rviita business culture. What are some things that you like to do? I know I see you guys go on lots of hikes, and I see lots of those posts on Instagram. So why don't we talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my sister who runs our social media and does an incredible job with, our marketing and customer service. Hiking is something that's really important to her. So it's a big part of our brand, and she's really inspired. A lot of what we do is the great outdoors, connecting with nature. So before COVID hit, we were actually doing group hikes. So they were incredible meetups. We'd have 40 or 50 people come out and we'd, spend a few hours together in the mountains. And it was this really great way to build community. Obviously with COVID, we've unfortunately had to postpone that for a while. But yeah, I love getting out in Banff and Canmore, enjoying nature. And the way that we connected originally was basketball. So that's always a real passion of mine. And I'm looking forward to getting back on the court with you.
Nice. Me too. So for the hikes, just if anyone was curious about joining, you guys are putting those off still? Like you guys haven't resumed those?
Yeah, we're going to put those off for, another month just to make sure everything's safe with COVID. So our next one will probably be end of the summer, maybe early fall. Okay. And we have updates there through our Instagram. So I revitalize, and then we send a meetup link to everybody, and you just sign up there, and we meet out in the mountains, and it's just a really incredible day. We obviously give free Rviita to everyone, but what it's really about is just creating new relationships and connections, and it's pretty special. So we'll have another one soon.
That's awesome, man. Love your company. Love what you guys are about. As a tradition on my podcast, I always want to end things on a positive note, with some words of encouragement. So just wondering if you have any positive words, encouraging words for anybody listening right now, the city of Calgary. I see that I have some people who listen in Hong Kong. It's interesting. So yeah, so anybody listening anywhere around the world.
Absolutely. So, what I always like to tell people is, you're one step away from realizing your dreams. So start today. If you have something that you want to do, maybe it's a fitness goal, maybe it's starting that business, maybe it's improving a relationship or something you want to improve on in your life, just take that first step today. Because 3 years ago, almost to the day, I made a decision that I was putting off my dream of being an entrepreneur, and it started with just a simple Google search. How do you start a beverage company? 3 years later, I'm running the business of my dreams. I've never been happier. So I know times are tough. COVID's hit everybody, but you're one step away, you're one action away from starting to realize your dreams. And that's what I would leave your listeners with today is take that first step, get going on whatever it is you want to do, whatever it is you want to improve on, and you will shock yourself how much progress you will make by just doing a few small things every day.
Nice. That's great advice. Mitch Jacobsen, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining, brother. I really, really appreciate it. I'm going to have to check in with you again, maybe when you have your 2 new flavors out, and you can give us the rundown on those.
Absolutely, man. I'm going to send you some of that new flavor today.
All right. Perfect, bro. All right. Take care of yourself, my man.
Thanks so much for having me.